need to know before the Shibuya Arc in Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. Jujutsu Kaisen's second season is ongoing at the moment, and the hype is as real as it has ever been. Now, we know everyone is super excited to see the return of their favorite characters, but it's been a while, so we will be laying out everything you need to know and remember before watching Season 2. Everything from relationships between different characters, where events left off after Season 1, and the movie, and what will be covered these few months. So watch the video till the end. Most of the things we're going to talk about apply to the highly anticipated Shibuya Arc, which comes after Gojo's past arc is over. First, we'll go back to the ending of Season 1 and then connect that with Gojo's past and the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie. Finally, we'll talk about the ingenious way the first season, Gojo's past, and the movie worked together to lay down the foundation for the Shibuya Arc in the anime. If you have been in the manga community for some time, you may have heard Jujutsu Kaisen manga readers talk about how the Shibuya Arc is going to be one of the best shonen anime arcs of all time, and for very good reasons. The build-up is insane. Brilliant, in fact. The characters, the hype moments, and everything. It's all so well done that you'll actually appreciate the arc even more on a reread. So back to what are the things you need to know before the Shibuya Arc starts in the anime. Well, in the final episode of the first season, Gojo talks to Urahima on the phone and asks her about the mole. It seems she is still looking into who the mole could be. For the sake of context, there was someone who gave Mahito and fake Geto information about the Kyoto Sister School Goodwill event. The mole was working for them, giving them information, and considering how the only ones at the Goodwill event were the students and the authorities. It is highly likely that the mole is a student from Kyoto High. Now, we won't be getting into who exactly this person is because that'll spoil the beginning of the Shibuya Arc. For your reference, the 24th episode ends with Gojo inviting Yuji Megumi and Nobara to meet with him for a top-secret mission. Yes, this mission is about the mole. When they arrive at the end of the second season, 5th episode, Gojo is napping, just dreaming about his past. The 5 episodes worth of the hidden inventory arc that we see is actually Gojo just recalling his past. Crazy! Anyways, following their meeting with Gojo, the story transitions into the Shibuya Arc. But how about we take a breather here and go back into that past? Back to when Gojo was still just an unruly teenager, too confident for his own good. Gojo's past, otherwise known as the Hidden Inventory Arc, is critical in the sense that it was this arc which fueled Geto's hatred for the non-sorcerers. If it weren't for Riko's death, if it weren't for what happened during the Hidden Inventory Arc, Geto may have actually taken a very different path. In the moment, he tells Gojo that it doesn't matter, but the darkness had already started consuming him. About a year later, when Gojo had truly become the strongest, Geto notices that he has been surpassed. If Gojo can just go on missions all alone, he starts wondering, what's the point? What is he doing all of this for? At one particular instance, Yuki Tsukumo shows up in front of him. He's obviously surprised to learn that she's the special grade sorcerer, Yuki Tsukumo, the special grade sorcerer who doesn't take on any missions and just bums around overseas. Anyways, she goes on to talk about ways to stop cursed spirits from being created. Basically, a world where curses don't even exist. She talks about Toji's heavenly restriction, but then at the end, she says something that speaks to Geto on a psychological and spiritual level. She says that if everyone becomes a sorcerer, no curse would ever be born. He immediately starts talking about killing all non-sorcerers, but of course, Yuki isn't that crazy. However, as Geto meets Nanami in the morgue and learns about Yu's death, a junior who was just joking around with Geto and Yuki a little while ago, he comes up with a rather odd analogy. If becoming a jujutsu sorcerer is like running a marathon, what if all that's at the end of that road is a mountain of their fellow sorcerers? By this point, Geto was on the verge of taking that path, and so when a few days later he goes on a mission to a village, he learns that the villagers have caged up 2 young shamans because they thought they were the cause of whatever cursed activity was going on. No, they were not. Geto loses it. He massacres the entire village, and just like that, according to Article 9 of the Jujutsu Regulations, he is considered a curse user and is therefore subject to execution. He has decided to kill all non-sorcerers, and, for what it's worth, he also killed his parents. Geto and Gojo part ways after meeting at the Shinjuku station. When Gojo calls him out and says that it's impossible to create a world without any non-sorcerers, Geto simply tells him that if it was him, he could do it. Gojo doesn't say anything in reply. He couldn't bring himself to kill his best friend, and so they part ways. Geto takes over the Star Religious Group after parting ways with Gojo, and this leads us to the events of the movie. In the movie, we see Geto carrying out his operations. He is the main antagonist of the movie, and his goal was to get his hands on Rika, a cursed spirit whom he considered the queen of all curses. In his mind, if he can get his hands on Rika, he would no longer need to gather cursed spirits, and in a very real sense, he will be able to change the world. To that end, he declared war on the Jujutsu sorcerers and came up with this super elaborate plan to distract Gojo while he takes Rika, but he couldn't win against Yuta and Rika. All of his spirits are exorcised, and his arm is blasted off. He retreats for the time being, but that's when he meets Gojo. The two of them talk for old time's sake. They talk like friends. Geto even returns Yuta's student ID, which he took when he released cursed spirits in that elementary school a few months ago. Gojo reassures him that the members of his family have escaped to safety, and then he kills his best friend with his own hands. They both reminisced about everything, and Geto died with a smile on his face. Ultimately, Gojo chose not to let Jujutsu High get a hold of Geto's corpse. On October 31st, in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, planning on sealing Gojo in the prison realm. It is a super elaborate plan that requires many pieces to succeed. But for the time being, the story of the Shibuya Arc is still left to be told in the anime. It is going to be one hell of an arc. Gojo's past, the movie, and then the first season of the anime, all these storylines have laid down the foundations for Shibuya Arc. The planning and narrative building cannot be understated. Simply brilliant. Now, before we close things off, quick reminder that the Shibuya Arc doesn't begin until the end of August. So, after the 5th episode, which concludes Gojo's past, we'll have 2 recap episodes, and then finally, the story will resume on August 31st. We highly recommend watching the recap episodes, as they are definitely going to remind us of the important details many fans may have forgotten by this point. This season is going to be insane! Share your comments below for what you're most excited for. Watch our next video for everything you need to know before watching Season 2 of Mushoku Tensei, another fan favorite series that is airing at the same time.